a new shader graph. Right click, create shader, and let's choose, where is the shader graph? Universal render pipeline, sprite unlit shader, because we will not be using lights in this scene. Let's name it Pokemon color. So as we did in all previous tutorials, or when you create any shader graph related to 2D sprites, you always start with the sample texture 2D. And you create a property texture 2D and name it main text. Why main text? Because it no. Seems with the new Unity update, usually the reference will be underscore and the name you chose, but seems they changed that in this Unity version. So in the reference, if you type main text, it will automatically detect the sprite on your game object and use it as the main texture. So we link the property to the texture on the sample texture 2D, and we link that to the color, and we connect the alpha to alpha. We can choose our Pokemon photo here. So this is the simplest 2D shader you can create just to render a 2D sprite. So what we want to do now is to able first to change the color. You can simply multiply a color property with the sample texture 2D to change the color, but this time let's check this, maybe a new node for you. It's called hue, like the hue and saturation in Photoshop. So if you link the sample texture 2D here and create a float, name it hue, and make it a slider between 0 and 360, because the hue is 360 degrees. Then link it to the offset and link the results to the base color. Let's save, go back to the scene and see what happened. We need to create a material first. Let's name it Pokemon material. Then apply the shader to the material by drag and drop on the material. Then apply the material to the game object. And cool, we have something wrong here, seems. Let's check the render pipeline. Oh, because we didn't add the universal render pipeline to the graphics. Also, we need to add it to the quality, if not added, yes. So if we go to the properties now, we can change the hue of our image, which gives a lot of variations of it. Next, what we want to do is to apply a texture to the body of this Pokemon. We will do that by creating a mask that will cover his body only without this shell on his back. So to avoid wasting time, I already did that in Photoshop. Here, as you can see, just open Photoshop file, our painter and paint what should be visible with white, and the black areas will be masked. So we will use this mask to apply one of those two textures that I downloaded randomly from the internet. You can choose any other textures you want. So to apply the mask, let's go back to our shader. We need, of course, a sample texture 2D. And a property which is texture 2D mask. So let's select the mask that I already created. Then we will use a lerp node to lerp between 0, which represents the black, and our mask represented by the white. So we lerp from A, which is 0, to B, which is our mask. And the T value will be the texture we want to apply inside the mask. So we need another sample texture 2D. And of course we need a property here, texture 2D, and let's name it texture, or maybe, I don't know, texture. Okay, link it to this sample texture 2D, and let's select for this maybe the zebra seamless texture. It's important here to download or create a seamless texture because we wanna later tile and offset or even rotate it to create more variations from our sprite. So we have now the mask and the texture. We lerp between 0 and the mask using this texture. So as you can see now, we're seeing the zebra texture just inside the mask we created. Then we use a blend node to blend between the zebra texture and our original sprite. I experimented a lot with this till I reached that we should use the subtract to show the sprites, the texture correctly on the sprite. We link that to the base color. And of course we can control the texture color by adding a new property, texture color. And multiply it with the lerp result. So now we got red texture. Then we connect it to blend. Of course, you can also control the opacity of the texture here, so we can create another float. Blend opacity. 0.5. Let's save and go back to scene. Okay, I return the hue to 0. Let's select the mask and the zebra texture. Okay, so now as you can see, you can change the Pokemon total color in addition to adding those nice texture to the body of the Pokemon, and you can change the texture color, which creates another variation to your sprite. Maybe you want to add some skins or allow the player to control how he want his character to be, which texture to apply, which color to choose. To add more variation to this, we can control also the tiling and offset. So we can add here tiling and offset node, connect it to the UV, and we can set here 2 new floats, vector 2, one for tiling. It can be one on X and one on the Y. And another vector 2 for the offset. Let's save and go back to Unity. So now you can control the tiling of the texture in addition to the offset. And finally, we can add, if you want, a rotation. So you can add rotation, rotate, and connect it to the UV of the tiling and offset, and create a new float to control the rotation. Name it rotation, and connect it here. Save. So this rotation will help create more variations of your sprite. So this is a simple tricks that you can use in your 2D games. I wonder if anyone have any questions. Okay, so that's all for today's shader. If no one have any question or any suggestion at least for the next video, I will end this stream. just for fun, before ending this video, we can change this value of the rotation by time. So let's add a time node and link it. We can control the speed by adding a new float, rotation speed. Let's set it to 0.1. Multiply the speed with the time and link it to the rotation instead of the rotation value. Let's save and see. Rotation speed, okay. Oh, sorry, I did it in the wrong shader. Let's copy those. Rotation speed and save. Now it should work. Yep. The texture now auto-rotating inside the mask we created. You can increase the speed or lower it easily from the speed rotation parameter we created. That's too much. I think 0.2 is 0.1 more than enough. Okay, so that's it for today's stream. I hope you enjoyed and see you in the next video. Bye bye.